Hello and welcome to this Rain Runners video where I'm going to be talking about parkrun's age-graded scores and what they mean. Hi, I'm Toby. Now you've probably noticed that when you look at your parkrun results, there is a percentage score as well as your time. But what does that mean? Well, I'll read directly from the parkrun website. All parkrun events use age grading to allow athletes to compare results. Age grading takes your time and uses the world record time for your sex and age to produce a score, and in brackets a percentage. This score allows you to compare your personal performance against other people's performances, even though they might be a different age and a different sex to you. The higher the score, the better the performance. The scores can also be compared across different race distances to allow you to, for example, compare a 5k time against a marathon. Age grades are calculated to allow rough comparisons between all our participants and should not be taken too seriously. For example, age grading makes no allowance for different weather conditions or the varying terrains of our courses. We do not share the actual table used to perform the calculations, but it is loosely based on the tables produced by WMA, previously known as WAVA. Well, I hope that sort of made sense. So basically, for each age, there is a 100% time, which is a world-class time for that age. And your percentage is the 100% time divided by your time multiplied by 100. Parkrun has age categories that change every few years, such as SM 30 to 34, VM 35 to 39, and so on. But the age grade percentages are based on the actual year. So the 100% time for a 35-year-old is actually slightly faster than the 100% time for a 36-year-old. The two letters before your age category refer to whether you're junior, senior or veteran, and whether you're a man or a woman. So it's J for junior, S for senior, and V for veteran. This is completely superfluous, because if someone is, say, 80 years old, you don't need to be told on top of that they are a veteran. If anything, I find it a little bit insulting. The M presumably stands for man and the W for woman, but M and F would probably be more appropriate for male and female, because I don't think a 4-year-old could be described as a man or a woman. The 100% times for each age follow a fairly smooth curve, so they're unlikely to be the actual world record times, because there would be outliers. Starting from the age of 4, which is the earliest age you can do parkrun, the 100% time gets faster and faster each year until you reach your 20s. Then there is a plateau for a few years, and then it gets slower and slower each year after that. If they use the actual world record times for each age for the 100% times, there would probably be anomalies. For example, the world record for a 51-year-old male might be slightly faster than the world record for a 50-year-old male. But the 100% times that they use smooth off any anomalies so that it gets slower and slower each year beyond your 20s. And they certainly don't use the track world records for the 100% times anyway, because the peak 100% time for males is 12 minutes 54, whereas the track 5,000 metre record is 12 minutes 37.35 seconds. And for women, the peak 100% time is 14 minutes 48, whereas the track 5,000 metre world record is 14 minutes 11.15 seconds. The 100% times might relate to road races, but anyway, your age-graded percentage is your performance compared to a world-class athlete of your age and sex. So, assuming that it's as hard for a 25-year-old man to run at 50% of the speed as a world-class 25-year-old man, as it is for a 70-year-old woman to run at 50% of the speed of a world-class 70-year-old woman. It's a way of comparing runners of all ages and sexes without just directly using their times. And it does say anyway that it shouldn't be taken too seriously. Another point is that it says it's loosely based on the WM tables. Well, according to what I've seen, it's exactly the same as the WM tables from 2010, except that they've added times for 4-year-olds, which don't exist on these tables. But let's say we are taking it seriously. how good are these age grade percentages as a measure of performance? Well, according to my calculations, the female peak 100% time of 14:48 would be worth 95.85% if the track world record of 14:11.15 was used as the 100% time. Whereas for males, the peak 100% time of 12:54 would be worth 97.85%. Now, they might be using road race times to form their tables, but proportionally it shouldn't make any difference between men and women. And the male peak 100% time of 12:54 is much closer to the male track record than the female's time is. And if the female 100% time was the same proportion away from the world record as the men's one is, they would actually use 14:30 rather than 14:48 as the peak 100% time for females. But individual world record times might be outliers, so using them might not be the best way of going about it. But if you look at where they fit in the ranking list, the male peak 100% time of 12:54 is 87th in the all-time ranking list for male 5,000 metre times, whereas the female 100% time of 14:48 ranks at 479th. If they used the 87th best time for females, then the peak 100% female time would be 14:32 rather than 14:48. So it certainly seems that the female peak time of 14:48 is less competitive than the male one of 12:54, which suggests it's actually slightly easier for females to achieve a certain percentage score than it is for males. Also, because these tables use world-class performances for each age, there's likely to be a much smaller talent pool for people in their, say, 70s and 80s than there is for people in their 20s and 30s. The top runners in their 20s and 30s are professional athletes, and they're the world-class Kenyans and Ethiopians that you see on the television. Whereas the best runners in their 70s or 80s are likely to be a retired American accountant called Bob Jones, who took up running in his 50s. So because the talent pool is smaller the older you get, the easier it is to attain a certain percentage grade score. Also, for children, it's unlikely to be an accurate reflection as they grow at different rates. So some 14-year-olds look virtually like adults, whereas some like little children. So someone who's slightly behind with their physical development is likely to get a percentage score that underestimates their true potential. So the age-graded percentage system seems to favour women and older people, and disfavours men, people of prime age, and children who are slightly behind in their physical development. So what's the overall conclusion? Well, I have been a bit picky about certain flaws with the system, but it's still quite an interesting way to compare your performance against people who are much older or much younger than you, or people of the opposite sex. It's not perfect, but it's still an interesting measure.